We are now living in a very regressive and even oppressive time for men. This is the movie Warriors that was a very progressive movie, not just for its time. Its time was more progressive than we're living in now, and it was very honest about gender dynamics in this film. Now, Rob Ager of Creative Learning is going to talk about this film, the romance part of it, and I will correct him where he gets it wrong in the gender dynamics. We'll start about 2:30, right about here, yeah.
The love story runs deep in The Warriors, and it's really well scripted. It defies most of the Hollywood love story conventions. In fact, it reverses several of them.
And it reverses them by being honest about gender dynamics. It's actually quite subversive that way.
By the end of this video, you'll no longer be able to watch The Warriors and just think, yeah, gang fights, real men.
No guy thinks that anyway, Mr. Ager. Because the whole point of guys fighting with one another and gaining territory is to get with the girl. Guys might not like the mushiness of romance, but they still want to get the girl. That's why this romance works.
The film will still hold that appeal, but your feelings will be balanced with an appreciation for the film's softer, more delicate side.
No, there's nothing more soft or delicate about this film at all. It's very gritty and real about its depiction of the relationships between men and women.
Warriors.
And we get past this guy can't tell from jokes.
Then at least you can have a good laugh at me for my efforts. Faggusations will be welcomed with open arms because I love you all, even those of you who consciously think you hate me. I look forward to the Reddit comments. Okay, now that you're all psycho, clearly that's garbage, but a subway train will be used as a sexual metaphor later on, and that's not a joke. There are virtually no women in the opening dialogue and title sequence. The Warriors are an all-male gang, as are all the other gangs that we see.
Exactly. Which depicts reality. Now, Rob, if you don't understand, women don't need to be part of gangs. They don't need protection. And they have social circles already. Guys belong to gangs when they have no other option. Dude, trust me, none of these guys actually want to be with one another. And how do I know? Because you'll prove it by the end of the film, where our main guy, Swan, finds his girl, and then what does he do? He leaves. He leaves the gang. He never wanted to be a part of that.
There will be one female gang later which will open its own can of worms about gender relations in this film.
And this lesbian gang, they're not looking for a guy to then leave the gang, because they actually like one another, want to be with one another.
But for now, we get shots of various gangs on their way to hear Cyrus's speech, during which we get the first clear instance of a woman on screen. This one being mocked and intimidated by a gang member, but possibly also, from his point of view, it's an unconscious expression of his sexual urges.
No, I disagree. He sees this woman as his better. She's obviously middle class, at least, but also she's a woman, and he has higher status than him just by the way she was born. So he's spooking one of his betters. That's what's really going on here.
A lot of male teen violence is driven by raging sexual hormones.
Rob, you're wrong with this. It's driven by the desire of the opposite sex. If these women liked men and wanted to be with them and wanted to be their girlfriends, there wouldn't be any need for violence, and guys wouldn't enact it. Like you pointed out, all these gangs have only men in it.
Teenage sexual urges are off the charts, and it can sometimes cross over into a tendency toward aggression.
And also this aggression is demanded by the girls, which you'll prove again later in this video. That what the girl in it, the main love interest, actually stirs up shit between the guys. They demand this behavior from guys. Okay.
For example, the character Ajax in this
Pass this.
Sure, the warriors don't look like teens in this movie, but the themes are very teenage, and in the original novel, they were teenagers. At Cyrus's meeting, there must be near 1,000 people, but I don't see one girl among them, even though the Lizzie's gang try to take revenge on the warriors later.
Why would there be any girls there? There wouldn't be. So this movie is very progressive in that it's true to what would be actually happening.
So you're the famous warriors, the guys that shot Cyrus.
After Cyrus is killed and the warriors are blamed, the warriors get attacked for the first time but manage to escape on a train. And on the train here, there's two women in the background.
That doesn't matter.
There's a general separation for this gang and the other gangs in the film between their masculine and feminine sides. And
this is bullshit. These guys don't behave like this because they don't have a feminine side. They behave this way, Rob, because they are socially isolated. They prefer women's company over men, and women reject them. And so they've got that going for them. Plus, the women, when they do interact with them, want this violent behavior. That's what's going on here.
And it shows in the almost total lack of women in the first third of the movie. Now, don't worry, this isn't a gender rights activism video disguised as a film analysis.
Well, I don't believe you, because you're already spewing it.
Personally, I consider masculinity and femininity to be equally important and productive elements of the human psyche.
I disagree. Because in this film, the female portion turns out to be just someone who uses men and betrays men. All the progress and productivity of society, any society, is male-driven. So I don't think there's anything to gain from the feminine side of our psyche.
To favour one and deny the other is foolish for all kinds of reasons.
Oh, I disagree.
Now, you may think I'm getting over-analytical about the gangs being out of touch with their soft feminine side, but check out this following scene.
This is bullshit. These guys aren't out of touch. This behavior is demanded by the opposite sex. The women want them this way. Now, look how he screws this up, too.
It's the Rogues gang who did kill Cyrus. Like real men, they steal candy right before the eyes of a newsstand worker who happens to be a small, young, innocent-looking girl. I like this because it shows the gang as being like prepubescent boys around the age of 10, the age when they feel uncomfortable around girls.
So them being hostile to this girl is immature, as opposed to the fact that they just get rejected by them and treated poorly by the opposite sex. So Iger's in complete denial about this.
So they become openly hostile to girls. And Luther gives a hilarious example of this.
Hey, what about the money you owe?
What?
He's not hostile because he's immature. Do you see any girls in that group? Yeah, because girls reject these guys because they're low status bums to them.
Now
any hostility these guys show to the girls is deserved.
Warriors encounter the Orphans gang, and this is where Swan's love interest.
Now, this is going to prove everything that I've been talking about. He's going to talk about this gang. This is the lowest gang. What it is, these guys are forced to be a gang. They're not tough guys. They just want to get along in life, and so they're forced to form a gang. And this guy's girlfriend ditches him for Swan because she sees him as not a real man. In other words, he's not in charge, he doesn't have status, and he's not violent.
Will make her first appearance. The Orphans don't exactly look like tough guys, do they? I mean, I'm not even a gang member, and I could take down a handful of them on my own.
I doubt it.
They're really skinny. Terrible outfits as well. They're meant to look like fools, of course, but note that their leader has his thumbs pushing his jeans down like he's going to whip out his drumstick. Dave Grohl in an early role, that's what I like to call him. You know what? Actually, I don't know who this actor is who plays this Dave Grohl type role, but he's pretty good in his line delivery. So, respect to him for that.
By the way, I remember seeing this movie, and all the other gangs just go after the warriors. They've heard that they've murdered this, you know, top dog, and they figure they'll up their status if they take the warriors out. They'll be the gang that took the warriors out. But this is the only gang that simply is willing to let them leave their territory and doesn't want any trouble. And that's the reason why this guy's girlfriend is disgusted by this guy and ditches him.
It's a good little role he's got in this film. I don't even know if he was in any other films at all. So, Swan and the Fox negotiate a pass through this gang's neighbourhood to the train station. And then Mercy, the love interest, shows up, and she knows how to stir up a fight.
Yeah, do you see? Wow, why do guys distrust women? So this guy doesn't want to get in a fight where, he might get killed or crippled, and this woman doesn't care about him. She sees these guys and she wants some action. She wants some bloodshed.
She's the first woman we've had a good look at in the film and the first one to have any dialogue. She's attractive and obviously has a sense of humour.
Cut it, Mercy.
Swan has his first look at her, and he's actually smiling, even though she's trying to stir up a gang fight. Smiling is something he hardly ever does in this film. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is the first smile he gives. Up until now, and for most of the film, he'll have a stone-cold expression that gives away his deep unhappiness within the gang life culture.
Well, that's all the guys. It's just that when the other guys smile, they do find some pleasure where they can. None of these guys want to be with one another. Like I said, that's the gender dynamics working. If one of them found the girlfriend, they would ditch this group.
More about that later. Now let's just hold on this scene because there's some important background production information that needs to be established here.
It doesn't matter about that. That's not what this video is about. Now, this section here, the scene here, shows that she wants to monkey branch from one leader to the next.
It also reveals her motivation, that she wants to get away from the orphans gang and to go off with the warriors, or more specifically, with Swan. She may not even consciously realise that yet. Though it's not communicated in the
She consciously realizes it.
traditional love story manner, she seems to be drawn to him like a magnet. Sort of love at first sight, but done in a sleazy way. Asking him to remove his jacket would also interfere with his gang membership identity, and perhaps that's because she wants him all to herself. That will come into play later. And this line.
Come on, give me one.
I don't know about in America, but here in England, that's a sexual invite. Or at least it was when I was growing up here, and that was around about the time the film was released. Some of the dialogue here suggests that she is the girlfriend of orphan leader Dave Grohl.
Exactly. And she's ditching him now. She sees she's going to monkey branch to this new guy. She sees someone who's quote unquote more of a man, right?
Yet she is totally coming on to Warriors leader Swan in front of Grohl and a lot of other guys. Seems like she likes to hook up with the leader of whatever pack she's in.
Yeah, that's what women do. They want the highest status guy they can get, Rob. It's amazing that I have to tell this to grown-ass men.
That's got a sting for Dave. Not just the girlfriend betrayal, but the embarrassment in front of all the other guys present. And
she's taking him down. Like, she never liked this guy. And she doesn't like Swan either. But she's just monkey branching.
Really rubs it in, but does so in an intelligent way that carries streetwise justification.
Who cares if it's intelligent? She's betraying someone who hasn't done anything to her but support her. She's a scumbag. And this is revealing too.
Are you just gonna let an army walk through here anytime they feel like it? How's it gonna look? Pretty soon every gang's just gonna boogie right in. Soldier right through.
I'll tell you.
What a man you are.
There, you just heard it, guys. Why do you think I made videos mocking the real man term. Real man just means servant. A real man to her is a guy who's in charge and commits violence against other men. Maybe even other women. You know, women get turned on by that. But that's what it is. That's what a real man is. And this guy, this poor guy who's done nothing to deserve this, the reason she's doing it to him because she totally disrespected him from the beginning. She never loved him, never respected him ever.
Something else here that differs from the usual love stories is that instead of coming across as a victim who has to be rescued, Mercy doesn't fear violence from men.
Rob, women don't fear violence from men anyway.
Mercy, stop looking for trouble now. Should have slapped your mouth the minute you opened it.
So who stopped you?
She may be a troublemaker, but she's independent-minded. She's her own person, not someone else's plaything.
What are you talking about, Rob? She was this guy's girlfriend because she is dependent on him. And she's only ditching him now because she wants to become dependent on Swan, another man. What are you talking about?
Her physical image is interesting too. Like I said, the clothes look cheap, but pink top for femininity. Her makeup is done quite nicely, and she has a heart locket hanging around from her neck. There's your love interest symbol right there. But I swear she has no bra on. So we've got this mix of traditional beauty and raw sex. I think Deborah Van Valkenburg is well picked for this role too. She's a good actress, but she also has the right look. She's attractive, but not in the top.
I do agree with this. Like this 1970s was really good for having gritty. You know, gritty. They right up to about the mid 80s, they had some decent looking women like her. Like she was decent looking, but not gorgeous. And same with the guys. You could have average looking guys back in the 70s.
Total Hollywood goddess manner. She looks a lot more natural than that, and that's a compliment. The primary relationship of interest here is Swan and Mercy, but it's the fox who steps up and insults her.
We are not going to hide who we are just because some whore shakes our ass.
Don't call me no whore.
Yeah, so again, these guys, this film is truthful about gender dynamics. These guys know what women are about. And the fox here just came out and admitted it. And that's why this is a progressive film. We live, guys, in a regressive era. A regressively, culturally, we are regressive. And I'd say oppressive as well towards men. And here, Iger is even going to admit what her motivation is.
It does result in a kissing encounter, especially if they're drunk. I've been on the receiving end of that myself once or twice, and I've always found it amusing, frankly. So, she follows them alone in the middle of the night, quite a risk. She's like a lost puppy or a stray cat. She's looking for something, and I think what it is unconsciously goes beyond her attraction to Swan. She wants out of this neighbourhood that she lives in. She finds this place boring. She finds Dave Grohl and his gang of skinnies boring.
Exactly. She finds the nice guy boring. She has contempt for him, and she wants to get out of poverty, and she sees this Swan character as a possible way out. Thank you for admitting that, Iger. Thank you. And that's true. Again, it's very truthful.
I think this scene, along with the other warriors soon having a fight with the Lizzies, puts forth an important gender paradigm in the film. The warriors and gangs like them tend to trust each other like brothers. They each see their gang as a defense shield against the outside world, a defense against other gangs, against the authorities, and against a very different kind of threat, women.
And you would be right. So again, this is why this film is progressive. It's a truthful, honest depiction about gender dynamics. These guys, young guys, Agar, when they hit puberty and they start going after the girls, and they find out the hard way what women actually think of them. And so any distrust they have for the opposite sex is earned.
The gangs in this film, and usually in life to my knowledge, tend to be single gender. To have women in the Warriors gang would likely cause disruptions in their brotherly bonds.
In so much as that the brotherly bonds don't exist anyway. That's why when the girl shows up, if a guy can get with her, he disappears. And you'll see it by the end of this film that Swan here gets with his love interest, and guess what? He doesn't want to be part of the gang anymore.
Their sense of family. After all, the biological purpose of men and women being together is to start a new family. It's not.
That's nonsense. The birth rates drop. In any third world country that comes first world, the birth rates drop because people aren't interested in having children. It's men want to be with women. If women really wanted to make babies, they'd want to be with men. They don't.
The Warriors hate women, but they seem to have a certain distrust for them, or more specifically, a distrust of their own ability to maintain their male bonds in the presence of women.
Oh, by the way, what difference does it make? Misogyny includes hatred and mistrust of women. So either way, they're misogynist, Rob, right?
Women are considered a temptation, a distraction, who should only be engaged on a superficial, casual sex basis. That's exactly what happens with the Lizzie's gang.
They don't feel that way. They have no choice. These guys, if they could get the girlfriend who they thought would actually love them for themselves, would actually accept that. They only do this because they have no choice, right? Now, I guess some time stamped. Yeah, I got that one right. Okay. Now I'll go to this one, Rembrandt. He's one of the guys who resist the female temptation. And of course, he's called gay for it, right? So I'll go there.
You know how it is. Word gets around.
Well, yeah, I guess we are pretty well known.
Come on.
Young guys fall for that so easily.
Not just young guys, Rob. Guys in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond get screwed over and divorced, then get remarried. Guys have to have a level of denial of reality in order to engage with the opposite sex.
An underplayed aspect of all this that's really good is Rembrandt's resistance to the Lizzie's charms. Lizzie strokes him like a cat here, very sexy, but he resists.
The reason he does is he's had experience with the opposite sex. You know, when guys say, when you say anything like I'm saying, guys will say, oh, have you ever spoken to a woman? It's guys who have real experience that learn distrust.
Among the film's fan base, it's been theorized that Rembrandt is gay. Walter Hill made allusions to this being the case.
But that's what I'm talking about. Now, I have nothing against the idea of that character being gay, this male character. It's just that it shouldn't be the first assumption. It should be the second. The first assumption should be that he's just smarter than the other guys. His antenna's up. This gang is in danger, and he's always aware of it. And also, he can tell that these girls aren't turned on by him or any of these guys, right? So what do they say? They say, oh, he's got to be gay, as opposed to just being smarter, right? I'm not going to repeat it.
They're lesbians, or at least bisexual, and possibly the whole gang are lesbians. Rembrandt, who is perceived by many fans as gay, seems to be the only one able to detect this. He's so distrusting he turns his back on this girl, not even giving the courtesy of a verbal answer.
Hey, little man, you want to dance?
Yeah, that face looks non-hostile, doesn't it?
The girl herself is interesting. That sleazy expression on her face, along with the black hair, makes her look like a vampire.
Yeah, it makes her expression says, I'd like to kick your ass. So, of course, no matter what she says with her mouth, this guy can see all the non-verbal cues, right? He's got a brain in his head.
The hair tied back makes her lack femininity.
I disagree. This woman looks very feminine. She just looks hostile.
I noticed that there's a little scar near her mouth, and I was never able to see that until I saw this film in HD. Is that a makeup effect to give her a battle-scarred look, or was that an actress who was just chosen because she already had that scar? It's one of many details in this film that were quite interesting but weren't visible in the old VHS and DVD copies. So the Leslies suddenly reveal their true colours, and we get one of the most intense gender conflict sequences in film history. It's a hilariously over-the-top depiction of polarised gender paranoia.
This isn't paranoia, Rob. I'm sorry, but we live in an era where you're from England, right? Where women have made it illegal for guys like you to look at women in the bus. We have women's groups coming after Johnny Depp, trying to get him shown as an abuser. Sorry, but what's going on here is actually reality.
The shot of Cochise kissing a girl and her flicking a switchblade right before his eyes is brilliant. But also note that interracial kissing was much more rare in movies back then. And how many movies have women trying to shoot and stab men? How many movies have a guy smash a chair?
I don't know about how many movies, but all kinds in real life try to shoot and stab men.
Over a knife-wielding woman's head. The scene is wild, one of the best in the film. So in this section of the film, near enough all of the warriors have encountered some sort of gender conflict. And now back to Swan.
Yeah, because gender conflict is real. Now, I'm going to stop off at showing exactly the end, 5108, yep, where Swan gets his girl, and then he does what? He leaves. He leaves because he was never interested in being with the Warriors. None of the Warriors want to be the Warriors. Right? Make sure I'm getting it right. 51. Yeah, I don't want to get 50. Here we are. See if we can't get it up here. Yeah.
And roll credits, but we're not done yet. First of all, the remaining warriors, except Swan, are on a beach walk, away from the confinement of the city slum. So where are Swan and Mercy? After the night they've all had, they should just be going straight home to get some sleep. But this beach walk shot is symbolic. Previously, Swan, as gang leader, had always walked at the front of his gang, but not anymore. He has quit as a gang leader, and probably he's left the gang completely. Maybe they all have.
Exactly. Thank you for admitting it. Why doesn't he? He needed status to get the girl. That's why he was the leader. Now that he's got the girl, he feels he doesn't need the status. So he drops his status. That's what all guys want to do, by the way, everyone's listening. Guys don't want status. They want the girl. And if they can get the girl without status, they can say, good, I can just live an easy life and be with my girl. But in this case, this woman still wants something from him. She doesn't, she's willing that he can drop his status as long as he becomes a provider. She wants out of the slum, and she's hoping he'll take her there. Now, if he doesn't take her there, he'll be like that guy in the green shirt. What do you call him, Dave Kroll or whatever? The guy who was the leader of the orphans. She ditched him when he couldn't provide her with what she wanted. And she'll do the same with Swan here. But I say all these guys, part of the gang, they'll stay a part of the gang because they don't have the girl, right?
But I can imagine he would stay friends with some of the rest. Swan and...
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, he'll stay friends and see them maybe once in a while and say, hey, remember the time when we were forced to hang with one another? I'm glad that's over with. Anyway, I don't want to prolong this video. I think I've made my point. This video or this movie, The Warriors, was very truthful about gender dynamics. It was very progressive in a way that you can't find in this regressive era that we live in. Men live in a regressive era and an oppressive era as well. We can't speak the truth. Films like this can't be made anymore. Men are continually be on the attack, or are attacked, I should say. You know, the culture has been taken over. You can't get films like that. And of course, guys like Rob Agger, usually get things wrong as well, because he doesn't want to deal with the truth of gender dynamics, the reality we live in. Anyway, that's all I have to say about this.